Tommy, a 14-year-old boy with a notorious reputation, strode down the crowded hallway of his middle school. His presence was enough to make other students shrink away, their whispers buzzing like flies around him. They eyed him warily, knowing all too well what he was capable of. Tommy's face bore a permanent scowl, his eyes scanning the crowd for his next target. His fist clenched as he moved, an intimidating figure who had become a symbol of fear among his peers. The morning passed uneventfully until Tommy spotted an opportunity. A smaller boy, frail and nervous, was fumbling with his locker combination. Tommy approached with a smirk, and without warning, shoved the boy into the locker with a force that echoed down the hallway. The boy cried out in pain and surprise, his books and papers scattering on the floor. Tommy's laughter rang out, a harsh sound that made the other students hurry away even faster. Lunchtime found Tommy in the crowded cafeteria, where the noise and chaos provided the perfect cover for his next act. He zeroed in on a timid student sitting alone, counting out his lunch money. Tommy swaggered over, his shadow falling over the boy. With a swift motion, he snatched the money from the boy's hand, ignoring the weak protest. His loud, mocking laughter drew a few nervous glances, but no one dared to intervene. Tommy pocketed the money, his grin wide and menacing. After school, Tommy's reign of terror continued at home. His younger sister, Emily, was quietly playing with her dolls in the living room. Tommy barged in, eyes glinting with the same cruel intent he displayed at school. He grabbed her favorite doll and held it high above his head. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she begged him to give it back. Tommy relished her fear and desperation, taunting her before finally tossing the doll aside, leaving Emily sobbing on the floor. Tommy's parents were often too preoccupied with their own lives to notice or care about his behavior. His father buried himself in work, rarely looking up from his laptop, while his mother was engrossed in her phone, scrolling endlessly through social media. They barely acknowledged Tommy's presence, let alone his actions. When Emily cried out, their response was a half-hearted reprimand from another room, if they responded at all. This indifference only fueled Tommy's anger and need for control. Tommy's actions eventually caught up with him, and he found himself sitting in the principal's office. Principal Johnson, a stern woman with a reputation for fairness, stared at him across the desk. She listed his transgressions, each word striking like a hammer. But Tommy sat with a defiant expression, arms crossed, showing no remorse. Principal Johnson warned him of the severe consequences he would face if he didn't change his ways, but her words seemed to bounce off his hardened exterior. Back in the schoolyard, Tommy's eyes fell on a new student. Sam, a quiet boy with a gentle demeanor, had just transferred to the school. To Tommy, he looked like easy prey. Sam's newness made him vulnerable, and Tommy decided he would be his next target. He watched Sam closely, planning his next move with a predatory gleam in his eyes. Tommy's first move came swiftly. As Sam walked down the hallway, balancing a stack of books, Tommy extended his foot, tripping him. Sam fell hard, his books scattering across the floor. Tommy stood over him, smirking, expecting the usual reaction of fear and submission. But Sam simply looked up, his expression calm and composed. He gathered his books without a word, a quiet resilience in his movements that puzzled Tommy. Despite the continued bullying, Sam remained unshaken. He went about his day with a quiet strength, not letting Tommy's actions affect him. He greeted everyone with a kind smile, his demeanor gentle and unwavering. This calmness began to attract the attention of other students and teachers, who noticed how Sam didn't let the bullying break his spirit. They started to admire his resilience, silently rooting for him. Teachers and students began to take note of the dynamic between Tommy and Sam. They saw how Sam's kindness and calmness seemed to act as a shield against Tommy's aggression. Some teachers quietly intervened, giving Sam support and encouragement, while students whispered about his bravery. Tommy noticed the shift in attention and felt a growing frustration. He couldn't understand why his usual tactics weren't working on Sam. Tommy's frustration grew as Sam's resilience continued. He intensified his bullying, hoping to break Sam's spirit. He knocked Sam's books from his hands, shoved him in the hallways, and hurled insults. But Sam's response remained the same, calm, kind, and unyielding. This steadfastness began to bother Tommy more than he expected. For the first time, he felt a flicker of doubt about his own actions. One day, as Tommy was about to shove Sam again, Sam turned and looked him in the eye. With a steady voice, he asked, "Why do you do this, Tommy? What do you get out of hurting others?" The question hung in the air, startling Tommy. No one had ever confronted him like this before. He was taken aback, unsure of how to respond. The usual script of fear and dominance was disrupted by Sam's calm inquiry. Sam's question lingered in Tommy's mind, causing him to reflect on his actions for the first time. He thought about the pain he inflicted on others and wondered what he truly gained from it. That night, as he lay in bed, he replayed the day's events in his mind. Sam's calm eyes and steady voice haunted him, making him question the person he had become. This introspection was new and uncomfortable for Tommy. The next day, Tommy was summoned to the principal's office again. Principal Johnson didn't mince words. She told him that his behavior had to change, or he would face serious consequences, including suspension or expulsion. She reminded him that his actions affected everyone around him and that he had the power to choose a different path. Tommy listened, her words penetrating deeper than before, thanks to Sam's unexpected question. Tommy returned to school with Principal Johnson's warning and Sam's question weighing heavily on his mind. He hesitated before acting out, a small but significant change. During class, he found himself lost in thought, wondering what it would be like to be different. This hesitation didn't go unnoticed by his peers. They saw a flicker of uncertainty in Tommy, a crack in his tough exterior that hinted at the possibility of change. A few days later, the teacher announced a group project, pairing students randomly. By a twist of fate, Tommy was paired with Sam. The news caused a ripple of whispers through the classroom. Tommy felt a mix of annoyance and curiosity. Working with Sam meant spending time with someone who had become a puzzle he couldn't solve. As they sat down together to discuss the project, the atmosphere was tense but charged with the potential for something new. As they worked on the project, Tommy and Sam slowly began to break down the barriers between them. Sam's kindness and patience were unwavering, even when Tommy's temper flared. Sam listened without judgment as Tommy began to open up about his struggles at home. For the first time, Tommy felt heard. He shared stories about his parents' indifference and his feelings of anger and frustration. Sam listened with empathy, offering understanding instead of pity. Over time, Tommy and Sam's working relationship blossomed into a tentative friendship. They found common ground in their love for basketball and a shared interest in science. Tommy started to look forward to their project meetings, finding solace in Sam's calm presence. The other students watched in amazement as the school bully and the new kid formed an unlikely bond. The friendship brought a new light to Tommy's eyes, a hint of the person he could become. One afternoon, as they were walking home together, they encountered a group of older bullies. The older boys started picking on Tommy, mocking him for his newfound friendship with Sam. For a moment, Tommy reverted to his old defensive stance, but Sam stepped in. With a calm but firm voice, Sam confronted the bullies, standing up for Tommy. The older boys backed off, confused by Sam's courage. Tommy was left in awe of Sam's bravery and realized the power of kindness in action. Inspired by Sam's example, Tommy started to change his behavior at home. He approached his younger sister, Emily, differently, asking if he could join her in play instead of taking her toys. Emily was cautious at first but soon warmed up to her brother's new attitude. They spent time together, laughing and playing, and Tommy discovered the joy of a positive connection. His parents began to notice the change, their indifference slowly giving way to curiosity and hope. Encouraged by his progress, Tommy decided to talk to the school counselor about his feelings and the issues at home. He walked into the counselor's office, a place he had always avoided, and sat down nervously. The counselor, Mrs. Lopez, welcomed him warmly and encouraged him to share what was on his mind. At first, Tommy found it difficult to open up, but Mrs. Lopez's patience and understanding helped him relax. He spoke about his anger, his parents' neglect, and how it felt to be the bully. Mrs. Lopez listened carefully, offering advice and strategies to help him manage his emotions. As the weeks passed, Tommy's parents began to notice the positive changes in their son. They saw him helping his sister with her homework, talking more respectfully, and even laughing again. This prompted them to reflect on their own behavior and the impact it had on their family. They decided to make an effort to spend more time together, planning family dinners and outings. Slowly, the atmosphere at home started to improve, and Tommy felt more supported and understood. Tommy knew that to truly move forward, he needed to make amends for his past actions. He started with the boy he had shoved into the locker. Approaching him in the hallway, Tommy took a deep breath and apologized sincerely. The boy, surprised and a bit wary, accepted his apology. Tommy continued this process with other students he had bullied, each time feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. These apologies were met with mixed reactions, but most of the students appreciated his efforts to make things right. With each apology and act of kindness, the students began to accept Tommy in a new light. They saw his genuine efforts to change and started to welcome him into their social circles. Tommy was invited to join group activities and even made new friends. The school environment, which had once been filled with fear and tension because of him, began to feel more inclusive and positive. Tommy felt a sense of belonging he had never experienced before. The culmination of Tommy and Sam's project arrived, and they presented their work to the class. Their project was a success, showcasing not only their academic skills but also the strength of their partnership. The teacher praised their efforts, highlighting the teamwork and creativity they had shown. Tommy beamed with pride, not just for the project, but for the personal growth he had achieved. The positive feedback from classmates and teachers further boosted his confidence. Empowered by his transformation, Tommy began to support other students who were being bullied. He used his past experiences to understand and help those who felt powerless. He stood up for them, offering advice and companionship. This new role as a protector rather than a bully brought him a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Students who had once feared him now looked up to him, and Tommy felt a deep sense of responsibility to continue on this path. Tommy's positive influence spread throughout the school. He organized and participated in anti-bullying campaigns, speaking out about his own experiences and the importance of kindness. His story inspired other students to reflect on their own actions and encouraged a culture of empathy and support. Tommy's transformation became a testament to the possibility of change and the power of compassion. The school, once plagued by fear and bullying, began to thrive as a more inclusive and respectful environment. At home, the changes were just as profound. Tommy's parents made a conscious effort to be more present and involved in their children's lives. They began to communicate more openly, addressing issues rather than ignoring them. Family dinners became a time for sharing and bonding, and the household grew warmer and more supportive. Tommy and Emily's relationship flourished, and the family found a new harmony. Tommy felt a sense of peace and happiness that had been missing for a long time. Tommy's efforts didn't go unnoticed. At a school assembly, Principal Johnson called him to the stage to recognize his contributions to the school community. Tommy received an award for his leadership in promoting a positive school environment. As he accepted the award, the students and teachers applauded, many of them standing in support. Tommy felt a mix of pride and humility, grateful for the chance to make amends and for the community that had given him another chance. One afternoon, Tommy stood in the same hallway where he had once terrorized his peers. The familiar setting felt different now, filled with memories of change and growth. He watched as students moved about, chatting and laughing, the fear he once inspired replaced by smiles and friendly nods. Tommy felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had come full circle, from a feared bully to a respected and kind student. As he walked down the hallway, he knew that his journey was far from over, but he was ready to face it with the strength and kindness he had learned along the way. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the story. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something along the way. If you did, please leave a comment, like, share, and follow my page to see more content like this and help us grow. Your support means everything to us. Thank you.